You know, that's gravity for you, folks. Where was I? Oh, hey, this is Chad White, your genial host. This is Tips for the Broadcast Musician. I am, as before, in the Fortress of Solitude, located deep in the heart of the International House of Pancakes. Last time we discussed a quick overview of what makes a broadcast musician, and an overview of several inexpensive electric guitars. We were going for less than $200. Some of them are under $100 if you find them at the right place. And primarily we're talking about used stuff anyway. This time I want to talk about cheap amplifiers. Cheap amplifiers that sound good. Now you'll have to forgive me, I'm going to do some walking around. The Fortress is only being lit by a single skylight, which is casting some weird shadows. So I'm going to be kind of walking around with the camera, so I appreciate your patience. And where's the switch? First things first, I'm a Peavey aficionado and always have been. Granted, I've got these Voxes in the room, but these are my babies. I've been playing Peavey since I was a kid, at the very least 15 or 16. My brother had an old Peavey Deuce, way too loud, but it sounded great. And since then, he and I, between the two of us, have probably owned 14, well, yeah, I'm thinking somewhere between 25 and 40 different amps. I don't have the numbers, but we like Peaveys a lot. Now, these two are both from the first generation trans tube series. The one on top is called the Rage 15.8. The one below it is the Bandit 112. Quick overview of both. The tube emulation in these things is flawless. The clean channel is especially flawless because, I don't know, it's always easy to get a tube type overdrive or distortion, but the clean tube sounds kind of elusive. This, even cranked through the clean channel, you get some beautiful tones. Not a lot of headroom, but that's good. It's still good. The one here, the Bandit, 80 watts RMS. It has a speaker output that takes it up to 100 watts. Good size Accutronics reverb, 2 channels, a killer overdrive, and the speaker is called the Sheffield 1230. I believe it's a greenback knockoff, and it's terrific. This little baby right here I got for $27. This is probably my third or fourth Bandit. I've owned the Red Stripe Bandit, which was the last one made in, Red Stripe. Actually, I have owned a Red Stripe Bandit. I forgot about that. And a Red Stripe Rage. Those are the last ones made in the States. They've been making them in China for a few years, and they sound good, but I don't trust the workmanship. The Bandit I got for $130 out the door. Screaming deal. I think used this model would go for about $180 now. Maybe back down to $130, but whatever it is, it's a great deal and sounds wonderful too. This little baby right here is a Freedom amp. It's made by Electro Harmonics, the company that brought you the Big Muff Pi distortion, the Small Stone phase shifter, the Electric Mistress flanger, and, pretty much every weird pedal that came out of the 70s and early 80s. This is a 1-speaker amp. It's closed back, 8 inches, 15 watts. It's got a 1/4-inch jack for input and a 1/4-inch jack for a preamp output. I have run that preamp output into the clean channel of the Rage, and it was amazing, and into the clean channel of my Bandit. Once again, amazing. Same results plugging into my Vox AC30. Holy cow. I got this one. It's another example of why you want to check everywhere you can. Craigslist. Guy described it as a Freedom amp not working. I called the guy. He said he's had it for a while. He's not the original owner. And it might just be a dead battery. At that point, I remembered these are self-contained. There's a jack to charge a battery, but you take it with, and that's all you need. Cost me $20. I did not even have to haggle. Found a replacement battery for $14 plus tax. So we're talking about an amp that goes on Craigslist or on eBay, sometimes in excess of $250. My first thought is it's not worth it, but then my second thought, it's worth whatever people are willing to pay for it. What was I willing to pay for it? $35. I win. I'm leaving the Fortress of Solitude and I'm now entering the main hall of the Amnesty International House of Pancakes to show you this Bambino. This is Peavey Stereo Chorus 400. Made in the mid to late 80s. Didn't get a whole lot of love. I guess people tried to compare it to the Roland JC120 and didn't think it measured up. Here's a little secret. They was wrong. Okay, this is the most powerful, loudest 212 combo I believe ever existed. Each speaker has its own separate power amp. Channel 1 goes to the first one, channel 2 goes to the second one. Each one is 100 watts RMS. You hook this sucker up to a couple of stacks, it will handle 2 full stacks per side, 260 watts. That is not volume, that's a concussion, that is a sound wave. It's a wonderful amp. Built-in stereo chorus, that makes only one channel work. But when you do that, you get this amazing, huge, room-filling chorus and vibrato. Personally, I think the chorus is better than the Roland JC120, which, by the way, is a fantastic amp, just beautiful. This also weighs considerably more than the JC120. To the best of my knowledge, this weighs 86 pounds, and I do mean pound. It's also got a huge Accutronics reverb pan, just wonderful. Got this, I want to say 1987 or 88 for $300. I believe it was $300 plus tax at the local pawn shop. I have recently seen these, frankly, in better shape than the one I got here, selling for less than $200 online. I believe I saw one without the original foot switch for $150. Now, in order to activate the channel switching and the chorus, you have to have the foot switch. I suppose it would be easy to modify the amplifier so you have a couple of switches, one to turn on the combiner, one to turn on and turn off the chorus, but that's going to run you money. So what you want to do if you get something like this, you need to make sure that you have the foot switch, that you can get the foot switch. If you got the foot switch, this sucker comes alive. It is loud, it is clean. It is the loudest clean tone I could possibly imagine. Headroom for days, and as I said, I'm starting to see these for under $200 with the foot switch. Okay, heading back to the Fortress of Solitude. You know, there are other brands of inexpensive amplifiers out there. Fender, Squier. I want to say the Frontman 25R. I've seen those, I think new those are just over 100. I could be wrong. I've seen them used for well under $100. I want to say like 75 or 80. Not crazy about the speakers, but they're good. They're good, and they're inexpensive. I believe most low-end Fender amps are made in either Indonesia or Mexico. I trust the construction and the workmanship coming out of both of those countries. It's exceptional, and it's a killer price. Squier, I believe the Frontman series, also has a couple of good inexpensive options. Ibanez, Roland, in the past they both put out small amps, some of which were good, some of which weren't, most of which are now available cheap. And by cheap I mean, depending on the model you want, you could be paying less than 25% of list price, maybe even less than that. Can't go wrong. Now, there's another brand out there that sometimes gets the love, sometimes doesn't. Obviously, Peavey has several more options, like the Audition 30, which is fantastic amplifier. Any of the Heritage or the VTX series, which have a solid state preamp going into power tubes. Bellissimo. I don't know where the hell I got that. I'm not Italian. Just taking a quick break here before I go back into the Fortress of Solitude. Gonna let you focus on the wonder and glory that is Tyrone the Wonder Cat, my roommate and one of my best buddies. How you doing, Monster? You good? Yeah. Okay, Cat, what are we going to talk about next? Crate amps. That's right. This is how it happens when you're raising yourself. Okay, crate amps are kind of iffy. I've never been a fan of their solid state stuff. There is one of their later American-made amps. I keep wanting to say a G1265, but actually that sounds more like a Celestion speaker. It has a 12-inch speaker, 65 watts, what I believe is spring reverb. I'm not crazy about the reverb, but the basic tone is terrific, even with the included speaker. Now, Crate makes some good tube stuff. I'm going to be lying to you if I said otherwise. You want to say hi? No? All right. He doesn't want to say hi, but that's fine. I'll talk for both of us. the Blue Voodoo series, some of the vintage series. I believe there's a club series. Those are pretty good. I'm not crazy about the stock speaker, but that's easy enough to fix. Most of the smaller amps, the practice amps, they make a couple of good little bass amps. I have to admit that's awfully true. But, well, as far as the Chinese-made stuff, especially the smaller amps, you can't spell crate amp without crap. There, I said it. Okay, so here's what we got. Overview, what you want to find. If you're looking for an amp under $100, maybe one of those 12-inch crates would be available for under $100. It's a good chance you could find at least a couple of different Peavey Transtube amps, the red stripe or the black stripe, both of which are made in Mississippi. And let's see, we went over the various Vox amps out there. Am I forgetting something, Cat? Apparently not. That's my boy. That's my boy. Good boy. All right. Another thing I want you to consider when you're looking for amplifiers, you definitely want to go with American made first. No doubt about it. Right, Tyrone? Okay. You got to be careful with that. Look for little telltale signs. If you look on the front of an amp and it says designed in the United States, engineered in the U.S., whatever it in the U.S., what that means is made in China. Oh, sorry, buddy. That's a special code word. That's right. Engineered in Germany, like Behringer, designed and engineered in the United States, like Peavey, is a code word. It's a code phrase that simply means this ain't from the States. What are you going to do about it? And we're back in the Fortress of Solitude. Okay, this pretty much wraps everything up. I realize this is just a bare bones overview. There's so many options. I know I keep going back to the Peaveys and the Voxes because that's where I've been finding the best tone, especially considering the money. Even if I wasn't considering the money, I would still take a Bandit 112 and a first generation Valvetronics any day of the week. Killer stuff. Killer stuff. All right. Once again, this is Chad White, your genial host. This has been Tips for the Broadcast Musician. Once again, coming to you live from the Fortress of Solitude here at the heart of the Amnesty International House of Pancakes. M-I-C, see you in court. K-E-Y. Why? Because I have a restraining order. O-U-S-O-B. Yeah.